North Korea says what it test-fired the previous day was the new Hwasong-19 ICBM, and its leader Kim Jong-un calls it the final and ultimate version. We take a closer look at its specs and capabilities. Over in Washington, the foreign and defense chiefs of South Korea and the U.S. condemned North Korea's dispatch of troops to Russia in the strongest language possible, saying thousands of soldiers are at Ukraine's border. Exports continue to expand last month, having risen 4.6% from a year ago, fueled by strong shipments of chips and cars. It's November 1st, 8 p.m. in Seoul. This is Newscenter. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. We begin with North Korea claiming what it tested Thursday was the new Hwasong-19 ICBM and that it was the final version. Questions do remain about certain technological capabilities. Our Lee Soo-jin explains in detail.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un personally oversaw Thursday's Hwasong-19 ICBM launch, hailing it as a defining success. The regime's state-run Korean Central News Agency reported on Friday that Kim described the Hwasong-19 as the final and ultimate version, reportedly an upgrade from the Hwasong-18. Seoul's Ministry of Unification outlined potential reasons behind Pyongyang's missile provocations.
This launch follows the September 13th unveiling of a uranium enrichment facility and the first reveal of a strategic missile base on October 23rd. It may aim to showcase North Korea's nuclear capabilities to pressure the U.S., divert attention from troop deployments to Russia, secure achievements for the year-end party meeting, and address military technology needs.
The large size of the Hwasong-19, now North Korea's biggest solid-fueled ICBM, has raised the possibility that it may carry multiple warheads, which would help the North overcome the U.S. missile defenses.
If it is an ICBM that can carry multiple warheads, I believe that it would be a weapon that has tremendous explosive power that could destroy not just a single city, but also the surrounding cities.
But there was no mention of multiple warhead testing when the North announced a test launch, and South Korea's military has also yet to detect any. The footage also failed to show the missile's atmospheric re-entry, raising doubts about its long-range accuracy. Without advanced re-entry technology, the ICBM, which leaves the Earth's atmosphere when launched and re-enters, may fail to reach its target. Photos of the test on Thursday also showed that the Hwasong-19 was fired from an 11-axle transporter erector launcher, not a 12-axle one, as state media hinted at in September when it published a photo of Kim Jong-un inspecting a launcher with 12 axles, or 24 wheels. Each additional axle enhances the launcher's weight carry and range capability. In response to the launch, South Korean Foreign Minister Cho Tae-yeol, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, and Japanese Foreign Minister Iwaya Takeshi released a joint statement condemning it, calling the missile test a violation of multiple United Nations Security Council resolutions. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
In response to the regime's ICBM launch, South Korea on Friday announced a new set of standalone sanctions against 11 North Korean individuals and 4 organizations that have aided in the regime's weapons development and trade and foreign currency earnings. Included were regime official Choi Kwang-soo for his alleged involvement in exporting North Korean weapons, and Dongbang Construction on suspicion of being involved in the regime's dispatch of workers overseas. The Foreign Ministry pointed out Pyongyang's missile launch on Thursday was a violation of UN Security Council resolutions and that it'll work closely with the international community. The restrictive measures will take effect on Wednesday. In the meantime, South Korea and the United States have carried out joint live-fire drone strike drills for the first time. South Korea's Air Force revealed on Friday that the drills involved drones from both countries, Korea's RQ-4B Global Hawk surveillance drone and the U.S. MQ-9 Reaper attack drone, where they simulated an attack on a target. The Reaper attack drone carried out strikes against the target based on intelligence collected by the Global Hawk surveillance drone. This comes just one day after North Korea test launched an ICBM in a move to send a warning to the North. Top diplomatic and defense officials from South Korea and the U.S. sat down in Washington, D.C. for their 2+2 dialogue on Thursday. Speaking at a press conference after the talks, the officials collectively condemned North Korea's acts of aggression in support of Russian warfare. Our foreign affairs correspondent Pei Eun-ji with the details.
A total of about 10,000 North Korean soldiers are in Russia, and 8,000 of them appear to be at Ukraine's border. That's according to the U.S. Secretary of State as he made remarks alongside his South Korean counterpart during a press conference following 2+2 talks between foreign and defense chiefs from Seoul and Washington.
We now assess that there are some 10,000 North Korean soldiers in total in Russia. And the most recent information indicates that as many as 8,000 of those North Korean forces have been deployed to the Kursk region. We've not yet seen these troops deploy into combat against Ukrainian forces, but we would expect that to happen in the coming days.
Blinken added that Russia has been training North Korean soldiers in artillery and unmanned aerial vehicles, indicating that they fully intend to use these forces in frontline operations. He also warned that should these troops engage in combat or combat support operations against Ukraine, they would become legitimate military targets. In a joint statement following the talks, the two sides vowed to actively pursue necessary measures with the international community to deter further unlawful, reckless, and destabilizing behavior from Pyongyang and Moscow.
We condemned North Korea's dispatch of troops in the strongest language possible and called for an immediate stop to these actions and all other illegal military cooperation.
Cho added that the two sides also reaffirmed the goal of complete denuclearization of North Korea and that they strongly condemned the regime's long-range ballistic missile launch carried out the day before. Thursday's talks come after the Ukrainian ambassador to the United Nations said North Korean soldiers wearing Russian uniforms and carrying Russian equipment are heading toward Ukraine, and that as many as 4,500 of them are expected to be at Russia's border with Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who has been calling for support from allies and partners, said what the country needs most from South Korea is an air defense system. In an interview with South Korean broadcaster KBS, he said Ukraine will send a request to South Korea, asking for weapons support, once it's officially confirmed that the North Korean troops have come to fight against Ukrainian citizens. Amid rising concerns during a UN Security Council meeting in New York on Thursday, the deputy U.S. ambassador to the United Nations directly confronted Russia.
And I have a very respectful question for my Russian colleague. Does Russia still maintain that there are no DPRK troops in Russia? That's my only question and my final point.
But the Russian representative at the meeting refused to comment, and the session was adjourned. Arirang News.
With the big day drawing near in the U.S., Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump are now fighting against each other over abortion rights, in addition to recent controversial comments. Cha Yun-kyung has more.
Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris blasted Donald Trump for saying that he would protect women as president whether they like it or not at a brief news conference on Thursday after heading to the southern battleground state of Wisconsin.
Very offensive to women in terms of not understanding their agency, their authority, their right, and their ability to make decisions about their own lives, including their own bodies.
Vice President Harris blamed Trump for creating a situation in America where 1 in 3 women lives in a state that has put onerous legal restrictions on abortion and is seeking to ban it altogether. Former President Trump said at a rally on Wednesday that the Biden-Harris administration had imported criminal migrants to enter the country and to assault, rape, and murder our women and girls. He then added that anyone who would let monsters kidnap and kill our children does not belong anywhere near the Oval Office. At his rally in Green Bay, Wisconsin, former President Trump spoke about his decision to wear a trash collector's vest on stage, blaming President Joe Biden's remark, saying the only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
Crooked Joe Biden finally said what he and Kamala really think of our supporters. He called them garbage. No way. No way!
Vice President Harris counterattacked Trump by talking about his stance on abortion rights, which resonates with women. Harris and Trump are in a very tight race, with the difference in their poll numbers being within the margin of error, especially in swing states, with just 5 days to go until U.S. presidential election. One poll among voters in Pennsylvania showed 48% in favor of Harris and 49% for Trump. However, another conducted there had 50% for Harris and 48.2% for Trump. In the two candidates' visits to the southern battleground states, Vice President Harris emphasized the freedom of women, while former President Trump focused on immigration. Cha Yun-kyung, Arirang News.
Here in Korea, exports rose 4.6% on year in October, fueled yet again by shipments of chips and cars. Choi Soo-hyung has the latest trade numbers.
South Korea's exports continue to grow on the back of booming semiconductor and auto shipments. Data released by the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy on Friday showed that the country's exports in October came to a total of $57.52 billion. This is a 4.6% rise from the same month the year before and marks the 13th month of consecutive year-on-year growth in exports. Exports of semiconductors and automobiles achieved record highs for the month of October. The government forecasts exports to keep growing through November and December this year.
Semiconductor exports will stay strong until the end of the year. Looking ahead to next year, international issues like the Ukraine war, the Middle East conflicts and the US presidential election create uncertainties. The government will monitor these closely.
Semiconductors, South Korea's largest export item, maintained their upward trend for the 12th consecutive month. October semiconductor exports reached over $12.5 billion, a more than 40% increase compared to the same period last year. The total export value of computer products, including solid-state drives, came to around $1 billion, marking 10 consecutive months of growth. Automobile exports also set a new record for the month of October, increasing 5.5% year-on-year to over $6 billion. Experts said that both semiconductors and cars have generally seen price increases rather than increases in quantity.
For semiconductors, demand has stabilized from last year, and across its sectors, prices have generally increased rather than quantity. For automobiles, the positive results are also due to higher prices, not because of an increase in the number of units sold.
Exports to China, South Korea's largest trading partner, surged by nearly 11% to $12.2 billion, driven by strong performances in semiconductors and petrochemicals, recording the highest figures since September 2022. Exports to the United States also hit a record high for the month of October, increasing by more than 3% year-on-year to $10.4 billion. South Korea's imports show a slight increase in October, but the country maintained its trade surplus for the 17th straight month. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
In an era where artificial intelligence is becoming part of everyday life, there is a new event for those curious about how AI technology is shaping the content industry. The first ever AI Content Festival, organized by the Korea Creative Content Agency, showcases images, videos, virtual artists, games, and webtoons by 50 AI-focused companies and creators. It also features projects created by students from the agency's New Content Academy, a program dedicated to developing future content creators. This 3-day event runs at Seoul's COEX until this Saturday, November 2nd. Netflix has a new trailer for the second season of its original series, Squid Game, which will hit screens on December 26th. The trailer itself, released on this Friday, hints at new games and unexpected twists, as well as the return of actor Kong Yoo with what appears to be a bigger role. The highly anticipated Season 2 will maintain its spotlight on the animosity between Lee Jung-jae and Lee Byung-hun, with the former returning to the deadly game seeking revenge. Fans can expect more shocking revelations as the participants fight for survival yet again. There's a stunning traditional firework display in the southern part of Korea that dates back to the Joseon dynasty, one that organizers believe needs to be on your bucket list. An Song-jin had a glimpse.
If there are galaxies, a swarm of stars in the sky, then on the ground there's Nakhwanori, where beams of fire shine in the dark. Every year, Haman County in the south of Gyeongsangnam-do province holds a performance that is often called something you must see before you die. This is Nakhwanori. Nakhwa means falling flowers, while Nori means game. The fireworks are made by wrapping oak charcoal powder in hanji, or Korean traditional mulberry paper. The special program by the Korea Tourism Organization even allows people to write their own wishes on the paper. The process of creating these paper balls has been patented, and the fireworks are designated as the province's intangible cultural heritage.
Fireworks are popular across Asia, but they all use gunpowder, which harms nature. Unlike those, our Nakhwanori not only emphasize historical and traditional values, but it's also made out of natural Korean ingredients which cause no harm.
After these paper balls are hung up, they are set on fire, falling into the small pond of Bujinjeong Pavilion. As the burning paper catches the wind, countless flames fall on the pond in all directions, resembling flower petals falling or fireworks on the water.
After watching Korean dramas, I've always wanted to visit. Seeing it for myself, it's so fantastic, and I'm very touched. It's worth coming all the way from Japan to see this.
Nakhwanori started during the Joseon dynasty to wish for prosperity. Though it was halted during the period of Japanese colonial rule, it was restored in 1985 and continues till today. The festival was originally held in May in accordance with Buddha's birthday. However, with thousands of both Korean and international visitors wanting to see this unique sight, the Korea Tourism Organization pledged to host the fireworks more often.
Most of the visitors coming to Korea are clustered in Seoul and nearby areas. However, there are a lot of places like Haman that have regional specific content, which we plan to further develop with local governments and residents.
The organization is seeking to create more programs with the Nakhwanori each month starting next year. An Song-jin, Arirang News, Haman.
Time now for our weekly arts and culture segment. As always, we have our culture correspondent, Song Yujin, in the studio. Welcome, Yujin.
Happy Friday, Jungmin.
Happy Friday. What do you have for us today?
Well, so Jungmin, it's been almost a month since South Korean author Han Gang won the prestigious Nobel Prize in Literature, and her historic win also put the spotlight on the translators who helped bring her works to all the readers around the world. So for this week, I explored how South Korea is nurturing the next generation of literary translators by visiting the place where these talents are trained.
When Professor Yoon Sun-mi heard about Han Gang's Nobel Prize win, one thought stood out.
It's sparking strong curiosity among international publishers of Korean literature. This could lead to a greater demand for translators.
Professor Yoon, who grew up in Argentina, is one of Korea's first literary translators and has nearly 30 years of experience. In 2012, she introduced Han Gang's The Vegetarian to Spanish-speaking readers, marking the book's first Western language translation. For her, translation is more than just switching words to another language.
You're conveying hidden meanings, intentions, and symbolic nuances. You have to understand the author's purpose, the character's psychology, and how readers will interpret it. It's like conducting an orchestra, balancing all these elements for a translation that's faithful.
Since 2010, Professor Yoon has been nurturing future translators as an instructor at the Literature Translation Institute of Korea's Translation Academy.
South Korea is unique in having a government-backed institution for training literary translators. A recent amendment to the Literature Promotion Act even proposes graduate programs in literary translation, showing a growing recognition of the need for experts to introduce Korean literature worldwide.
With courses in 7 languages, the Academy enrolls around 150 students, 90% of whom are international, and covers more than just books. Students also translate webtoons and films.
Since we are having to be in contact with Korean literature, we get to meet some writers, and we have an amazing library here. We can read a lot of books. So
I think I like to translate novels in a way that that brings them closer to the Spanish readers.
Despite these opportunities, translating is still a challenging path.
Translation grants haven't increased since I started 30 years ago, so it's tough to make this a full-time career. I tell my students to consider translation as a side job. Breaking in is also hard. The Daesan Foundation is the only place new translators can apply for work, as most publishers prefer established names.
Thus, it's time to come up with some solutions.
We need more platforms where translators and publishers, both local and international, can connect. Creating opportunities for new translators through these platforms, or requiring the use of rookie translators for projects, even small ones, would give them practical experience to build a full-time career.
A powerful translation gives literature a new dimension. With efforts like these, Korean literature could reach readers far and wide.
Wow, these translators are truly the hidden heroes behind the global success of Korean literature.
Right.
So from Eugene, your report, it sounds like a good translation isn't just a word-for-word process.
Right, you're definitely right, Tomi, because it's not just about being fluent or being native in a certain language, because literary translation goes beyond technical translation or technical accuracy. So, for instance, Professor Yoon, she is more comfortable in Spanish because she grew up in Argentina, but she managed to build a successful career by translating Korean literature into Spanish to all the readers around the world. And for her, a good translation feels so natural that readers don't even realize it's translated. And so this requires not just linguistic skills, but a deep understanding of both cultures, which is why the Translation Academy of Korea has included Korean cultural studies in its regular curriculum.
All right, and I see, and the Hangang's Nobel Prize win drawing so much attention to her books. Are there places where our international viewers can read her books in their own languages?
There actually is. So the National Library of Korea, which is located in Seoul's Seocho district, it actually set up a special display of Hangang's works from October 11th, which is the day after she received the Nobel Prize in Literature. So this collection includes 14 of her major books, from early works like Your Cold Hands to internationally acclaimed titles like The Vegetarian and We Do Not Part, as you're seeing from the footage. For international visitors, the library offers 79 translated versions of her books in 28 different languages. The display is located in the main building's literature room, open every day from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., except on the second and fourth Mondays and public holidays. But make sure to register as a user by signing up on the library's website.
Our culture correspondent, Song Yujin, thanks for the report.
Always a pleasure.
The daily rainfall on Jeju Island today was 102.2 millimeters, the highest ever recorded in November since 1923 when records began. Currently, heavy rain and strong wind warnings are issued for the mountainous areas of Jeju Island. With lots of clouds across the country, there will be up to 300 millimeters of heavy rain in the mountainous areas of Jeju Island by tomorrow morning. Heavy rain of up to 100 millimeters is also predicted on the south coast areas of Gyeongsang-namdo Province, Busan, and Jeollanam-do Province. Tomorrow, Seoul will start off at 13 degrees Celsius, Gwangju and Daegu 15 degrees. Daily highs will move up to 23 in Seoul and Gwangju, Chuncheon and Gyeongju 20 degrees. Morning temperatures will drop below 5 degrees next week in inland areas, including Seoul. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session coming up.